Hello everyone, welcome to the course Fundamental Design of Small Scale Solar Wind Hybrid System. In this course, we're going to be talk about how we can design the small scale level of solar and wind hybrid system, where we can combine the solar power and the wind power also to give for the consumer electricity requirement. In this course, more points in detail will going to be talk like follows. We're going to be talk about the grid tie solar wind hybrid system. It means at a small scale level, whenever we want to go for the hybrid kind of the system, when the grid is also present, or whenever we are utilizing the net metering system. So in that, how the structure will be there. Similarly, we're going to be talk about how we can design for the off-grid type of an solar wind hybrid system. Here we're going to be talk about wind and solar and plus the battery connection where the grid connection is absent over here. All the fundamental concept regarding the designing procedure, this will going to be talk over here. Similarly, we're going to be emphasis on the number of components that we are utilizing for the solar wind hybrid system. So in this case, we require the panel, wind turbine, then we require the hybrid charge controller, inverter, and the other kind of the accessories. All these parameters will going to be talk over here in detail. We're also going to emphasis on the various kinds of the benefits that we are getting whenever we are installing the hybrid kind of fan system. Also, we're going to be see the reverse side of it, how what are the different kinds of the cons of installing the hybrid solar wind system will be there. And exactly at the time of this particular case, how can we overcome this kind of an parameter whenever we are utilizing this kind of the system? Or what kind of the parameter that we have to focus or that we have to keep in mind at the time of the designing of such kind of a system. We're going to be talk over here with the help of as a case study. We're going to be take a problem statement as per the requirement of a consumer, and from that we're going to be see one by one the mathematical formulas and the calculation for designing and selection of the wind turbine, solar panel, and the further connections. Here we're going to be talk over here the calculation of daily and annual consumption of the consumer. So how we can calculate the consumption of an consumer based upon the requisite wattage size of the daily requirement, number of hours has been used by the consumer, and daily basis and annual basis how much kilowatt hour, that much will be the consumption pattern of the consumer. And from that we're going to be start one by one the selection of the wind turbine further calculations over here. In the next point, we're going to be focused upon the sizing and selection of the wind turbine. Here we're going to be talk with the various parameter, mathematical checks and calculations. We're going to be select a wind turbine. Like first of all, we're going to talk over here how to calculate the wind speed calculation at a specific height. At what height exactly that we want to install this particular wind turbine, let's say 10 meter, 30 meter, 50 meter. At that particular height, how we can calculate the speed of that wind so that we are getting the exact output and selection pattern of the wind turbine. Also, we're going to be see some of important assumptions that we have to be consider whenever we are sizing any kind of an wind turbine for the hybrid system. Similarly, we're going to be talk over here calculation of the load distribution on the solar and the wind. So based upon the overall consumption pattern of the consumer in kilowatt hour, we can decide or divide how much amount of the power that we want to take from the solar and how much amount of percentage power that we want to take from the wind turbine. And according to that, we're going to be see the further calculation, which are very, very essential to calculate the diameter and the rotor diameter of an wind turbine and further watt selection of an wind turbine. So here we're going to be focus upon the actual wind power density to be converted into the useful energy. So how much of the energy that we are getting on that particular location? Because we are getting the kinetic form of an energy that we are converting into the electrical form. And that is why we have to be focused upon the wind power density and further calculations over here. We'll also going to be talk about some mathematical formulas and logic to calculate the swept area of an turbine. Once we got the swept area of an rotor turbine, then we can calculate what exactly the rotor diameter that we have to be utilized. Whether it is a 2 blade, 3 blade, or the 5 blade kind of an wind machine that we are purchasing for the hybrid installation. So from this exactly we're going to be calculate how much meter of a rotor diameter that we required and according to the market size, exactly actual rating of an power of the wind turbine that will going to be calculated. From this calculation, we exactly came to know how much watt size of a wind turbine that we have to select, and based upon that, we're going to be select the wind turbine as per the manufacturer rating and the market availability. Here we're going to be focused upon the various components that the wind turbine has been utilizing, like the generator and other kind of blades and other parameter. In detail, we're going to be talk over here. Similarly, we're going to be talk over here regarding the connections of the small scale wind turbine. What kind of the cabling connections that we are getting, what is the role of an charge controller, what is the role of an brake switch, and the battery connections. Here we're going to be talk over here in detail. Also, we're going to be see the specification of an wind turbine. Whatever turbine that we are selecting, in detail, we're going to be see the graph of power versus the speed of an wind and how the power variations that will going to be happen as per the specifications. Also, we're going to be see what kind of an parameter and factor we need to be considered when we are installing the small scale level of an wind turbine, rather over the rooftop area, rather on the ground area. Similarly, we'll also going to be focused on the second part of the course, like a sizing of the solar plant over here. In detail, we're going to be talk like from the selection of an panel. Here we're going to be see how we can read the data sheet of an panel. What are the important parameters that we need to be consider while reading the data sheet of an panel? Further, we're going to be calculate the number of solar panel that we need to be used in a system, connections of a solar panel and the string sizing based upon the voltage and current which is required for the controller and the current voltage that we are getting from the wind machine. Similarly, we're going to be see the statistics and the factor that are been necessary for installation of a solar plant. Also, we're going to be see what kind of the cable size that we have to be utilized based upon the ampacity and voltage drop calculation. We're going to be see over here in detail. Also, we're going to be focused upon a very important parameter in the off-grid kind of an hybrid system, like an battery bank sizing. Here we're going to be see how we can decide the ampere hour rating of a battery, how we are deciding the system voltage in a battery, how many number of battery that we required, and number of battery connected in the series and parallel connection. That parameter in detail we're going to be talk over here. Also, we're going to be emphasis on important parameter in the hybrid system, that is of wind solar hybrid controller. What are the different kind of an electrical connection has been given for this controller? What is the dump load that we have to be utilized, and how we can do this further connection and parameter selection for the designing purpose? We're going to be emphasis on the selection of an inverter whenever we are applying the AC load for this hybrid kind of an system, and the role of it and connections of it over here in detail we're going to be talk. And lastly, we're going to be focused upon the line diagram of the solar wind hybrid system. Here we're going to be talk over here how exactly the connections are happening over here, and more parameter and the factor necessary to be selection for the line diagram. That parameter we're going to be talk over here in detail. I'm going to be welcome you in the course. Let's start the course.